Hey everybody, it's Gomedex and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we have Omniscience Draft for Core Set 2021. This is only going to be on for this weekend, so just a couple days here. So I'm going to be drafting it as long as it's on for the daily videos. So if you're new to this format and you don't know what's going on here, let me explain it really quickly. Everything that you draft in your deck during the gameplay you get to cast for completely free. However, you're going to start with only a 3-card hand instead of the full 7, so that you and your opponent potentially don't have just ridiculous turn ones. Spoiler alert, it's still going to happen most of the time. But you also have the ability to get 1 mana of every color once each turn to use your activated abilities on cards. So it's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! The Gathering. It's Magic the Gathering, but without a resource system of any way. All of your cards you can just straight up cast no matter what. No lands to be seen. So in this format, the strongest cards are going to be cards similar to the stuff that gets banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff that'll draw multiple cards when you cast it, like Pot of Greed, the famous banned Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. So those are going to be like the strongest things we can do. Other than that, we're just going to be taking the stuff that has the largest impact on the game in general, or on the board. Because since everything's free, just take the biggest card every pack, really. So let's see what we've got in our pack 1 here. It is a really interesting way to draft because you do have to really, you have to think about the cards in a completely different way than you would normally during draft. Because normally during draft, I could be like, if there was like a cheap, efficient removal spell in here, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll take a Shock or something, but Shock is actually just going to be really bad in this format because it's only going to do 2 damage to something, when most creatures are going to be giant. So what do we have here? Gadrick does not seem all that great in this format. A 5/4 flyer, and we get treasure tokens, but obviously we don't need treasure tokens. We don't need mana unless we have a bunch of activated abilities, which is unlikely to happen. We're not going to try to draft around that. So seems relatively pretty bad. I guess you do get the treasure tokens to be able to make Gadrick able to attack, but at that point we would like to preferably just pick up big flyers that can attack by themselves. Jeskai Elder's basically never going to be able to deal combat damage to our opponents, so we're not going to be able to use that looting ability because most of the creatures are going to be much larger than this 1/2 with prowess. Riddle form is probably not a thing. It does let us scry 1 twice per turn. That could actually be quite powerful in this format because the variance between the strongest cards and the weakest cards in this format is pretty huge, and you are drafting 3 15-card packs, so your deck is going to end up with at least, I guess, only like 5 cards that you can cut out of your deck. So by the end of every pack, you're going to end up with cards in your deck that are just like Vidalian Arcanist or something that are very, very weak, very low impact in Omniscience formats. So Riddle form, being able to scry once during your turn and then once during your opponent's turn to set up your draws and make sure that you're actually hitting your big stuff, could actually be a big swing for you throughout the game. So Riddle form actually is pretty interesting to me. Bowser's Acolytes, whatever, pretty small. Spellgorger Weird, pretty small. This could potentially combo if you get a lot of draw spells. You keep getting counters on it, but at the same time, if you're casting a bunch of draw spells in 1 turn, you're already probably winning that game. Llanowar Visionary is interesting. It'll give us a chump blocker and just let us cantrip to draw the next card, so that's probably incredibly powerful. I'm thinking out of this pack, the best stuff is very likely to be Llanowar Visionary and Riddle form. Riddle form for setting up several draws throughout the game, and Llanowar Visionary for the immediate chump blocker and draw the next card. So we basically just get to cast 2 spells on the turn we play this, because we're playing this and whatever's off the top. I kind of want to run with Riddle form, just because it's a little bit more interesting. It's something that I'm not going to have a lot of in the deck. I expect to have tons and tons of cards that just say draw a card in this deck because they're just such high picks, like Rousing Reed. It is an aura, so we'll have to have a creature on the battlefield to use this, but it's going to give an enchanted creature +1/+1 in flying, and we will draw 2 cards, then discard a card, which is incredibly good in this format because we're going to be giving one of our large grounded creatures flying, and obviously the card draw there, very Pot of Greed style. It's going to be quite good. Obsessive Stitcher is a bit slow, but it can like draw us multiple cards over several turns, so I'm not a huge fan of that, but that has some potential. The Sanctum of Tranquil Light, we can't use that ability at all, just don't have the mana for it. I think it's just going to be the Rousing Reed here. And you don't have to worry about the colors you're picking at all in this format, because everything is free, so you're just playing every color. What do we have here? Nothing super high impact. I guess Track Down, we could scry 3, reveal the top. If it's creature or land, we get to draw a card. Rewind could be okay. It is nice to have just like 1 or 2 random counterspells, because there are some cards in the format that will just automatically win no matter what you do, like Ugin. Obviously, everything's completely free, so your opponents can just cast Ugin turn 1, and you're like, well, good game then. There's lots of stuff like that that can happen. So counterspells, it really depends on the kind of player you are, but they can get some use in here. So we have a removal spell, a counter spell, and a potential draw spell. I don't like that this doesn't draw a card no matter what, but the Scry 3 is okay. I'm actually just going to pick up the counter spell here, I think. Do we have any draw in this pack? We do have Crash Through, which is a very low impact ability, just trample till end of turn and you draw a card. But that could be nice to just cycle through cards. What does this do? Discard a land or shrine card. Alright, Sanctum of Shattered Heights, also unplayable. I'm thinking Spined Megalodon or Crash Through. Spined Megalodon is going to be a nice large creature. It's got hexproof as well, so even if our opponents have drafted a lot of removal, it might be able to stay on the board for a while. I do like picking up the Megalodon here, and that'll combo well with stuff like Crash Through later. Combos really well with Rousing Reed. That'll be fantastic if we get both of those in our opening hand. Garruk's Uprising has to be just absolutely insane in this format. When this enters the battlefield, if we control a creature with power 4 or greater, we draw a card. We're incredibly likely to. Those are the only creatures we are really going to want to play in our decks. And every time we play another one, we draw a card. So Garruk's Uprising has to be just one of the most powerful cards in this format, period. So that is a very easy pick there. Now, Tolarian Kraken could be pretty good. It's just another big, beefy creature. Plus, we do get that 5 mana every turn, so we can tap or untap like 1 creature per turn. The way that the emblem works is you get all of the 5 mana just all at once, so unfortunately we couldn't like use it during several different steps. So if I wanted to tap a creature during our draw step with this ability, I would have to use the ability, get all 5 mana, use the 1 for this ability, and then the rest of the mana would just disappear before my main phase. So that's the one thing that I'm not a huge fan of with this, but it's a big, beefy creature. Tap down one of our opponent's blockers. Really just get in there. The only other cards I like here, Sanguine Indulgence is probably pretty good, because all of the creatures are going to be massive, so pick 2 of them back up if you've just traded some creatures. And Library Larcenist might be okay. It only really draws 1 card unless you're really lucky, and you've attached like a Rousing Reed to it. That could be a pretty cool combo, but I don't know. Anything that says draws a card is at least okay in this format. Definitely going to be Kraken here, though. That is what I am feeling. Now we have Sky Scanner, draw a card and get a chump blocker, so we chump block one of their big scary things. There's also Thrill of Possibility, which actually might be better, because this is a draw 2. We do have to discard a card to do it, but as I said before, we're going to have so many jank cards in our deck, just because of the fact that we only get 5 cuts. We have to run 40 non-land cards here out of the 45 cards we're picking. Yeah, Thrill of Possibility is probably a little bit stronger just for drawing 2 instead of 1, even though it doesn't put anything on the board. Ideally, we draw into some kind of creature that will be bigger than a 1/1 flyer. What do we have now? Looks like nothing. +2/+2 first strike, some small creatures, a 1/3, a 2/5, a 2/1. A 2/5 is actually just a small creature in this format overall, just because of everything's free. You get really big stuff. Rise Again, I guess. If we trade our big creatures, we can rise something back from the grave. I honestly don't know here. Maybe Return to Nature is actually good in this format as well, just because it can kill our opponents like Garruk's Uprisings, which I expect lots of opponents to have, and maybe opponents will be running Riddle form as well, so maybe Return to Nature is actually okay here. I think Wishcoin Crab is going to be the card that just anytime we draw that, we can just put it on the board, period. It's the most versatile card, whereas Return to Nature, we can only play this if our opponent specifically has something powerful like Garruk's Uprising or Riddle form out in Artifact or Enchantment form, and Rise Again we can only play if our creatures have already traded. So maybe it's just the Crab here, but I don't love that. I am going to run with the Crab. The Lofty Denial is useless. Lofty Denial is counterspell unless your opponent pays 1. With the way the emblem works, your opponent can just respond by using the emblem and then pay the mana they get from that. So that's why I didn't even mention the Lofty Denial there. Might want +1/+1 Death Touch here, because then we can trade our random creatures like Wishcoin Crab into one of our opponent's really big things like Spine Megalodon, so Alchemist's Gift might actually be okay here. Just +1/+1 Death Touch. Nothing else here stands out to me except maybe Run Afoul just to get some flying defense, but I think I like the gift a little better. Turn our mediocre late game pick creatures into something that actually trades with something. So Celestial Enforcer's mildly interesting just for tapping down really big creatures, however we do have to have a flyer out to use that. We do get the 5 mana turn to use the abilities, so we can actually tap things down with that. I feel like it's probably just going to be Valorous Steed. I mean, a 3/3 and a 2/2 seems pretty fine pretty much all the time, whereas Enforcer is not doing anything really unless we have a flyer out. A 2/3 just does not have a large impact in this format. Now I'll take a track down, scry 3, reveal the top. If it's a creature, we draw a card. Obviously, we're not going to be running any lands, but I like track down over any of these creatures. Maybe Dilophosaur. That's definitely the best out of these 3 creatures, just for that death touch, but it's not that big, and it doesn't trigger Garruk's Uprising because while it does get +2/+2 when it attacks, it doesn't have 4 power initially when it enters the battlefield, so Dilophosaur or Track Down here. I'm going to take Track Down, just not too excited by the little dino. I guess we can run Duress here, because the only other thing we're playing is just way too small of an impact in this format. Just a 1/3 that'll get 1 chump block or a Rookie Mistake. I don't think this will ever really work out as a combat trick unless we're really lucky and like exactly evenly matched creatures end up fighting with each other. I feel like Duress is the most likely to actually hit something, because if we're on the play and we Duress our opponent and they have like a Rousing Read in hand, that's huge. Then Duress actually got a lot of value. So yeah, I'll scoop up a Duress. I guess I'm going to go with Crash Through. I don't really like Infernal Scarring simply because we don't draw the card until the creature dies, whereas with Crash Through, we draw the card immediately and give our big stuff like Megalodon, Kraken, Trample if our opponent has small creatures out. Destructive Tampering is that might actually be real, because these games could end up in a situation where both players just have a bunch of creatures on the ground, and Destructive Tampering just shuts off all blocks and we get in for an Alpha Strike. Wow, my mouse is really glitching up. That is incredibly irritating. Just trying to pick that. What do we have here? I don't want to just immediately slam the Serra Angel, but it will probably be the pick. We just need to make sure that there's nothing in here that draws us 2 or more cards, because I think we would take something that, like, definitely something that draws 3, we would take over Baneslayer Angel. But it looks like there's nothing like that. Nothing just insanely powerful in this format, so we're just going to take the really good Baneslayer Angel. And that'll trigger our Garruk's Uprising. That'll be a big flyer. A whole bunch of abilities on it. Just pretty great card there. So Test and Trading might be alright in this format. As I said before, slapping Trample onto one of our big creatures is good, and drawing a card is always good here. And then there's the Sky Scanner for the chump blocker and draw a card, and Havoc Gesture will trigger Garruk's Uprising, and it's just a beefy creature, so that could be a good pick too. I think I'm actually going to go with Havoc Gesture. The weird thing is that this format, we are drafting against bots, so I don't know for sure how highly the bots are going to take any of this stuff, but I think we can take Havoc Gesture and probably wheel Citizen Training or Sky Scanner. One of those two. We only get to see this pack one more time, so that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping to wheel Training or Sky Scanner. I doubt we would wheel the Havoc Gesture, because they might be drafting it like you would draft the set normally, and just not prioritizing the draw cards or anything. I think we'll definitely pick up another Spine Megalodon here. Just our big old Hexproofer. Scry when it attacks. And what now? There's another Citizen Training. I could pick that up now. Fetid Imp could be good. Flying, and you can give it Death Touch till end of turn, so you can trade with anything your opponent's trying to attack you with. So that might be alright. Teferi's Protege might be alright as well. We do get the mana to be able to use this ability every turn. A little bit slow, but definitely a lot of value over the course of the game. And looting our cards away, drawing and discarding our garbage is always nice when we are going to have a lot of garbage. So Training or Protege. I'm actually going to go with Protege just for the multiple draws that this gives us versus just the one from the Citizen Training. Oh my god, Bad Deal is ridiculous in this format. Bad Deal is you draw 2 cards and each opponent discards 2 cards. The 2 life loss doesn't really matter, but that is such a huge swing and card advantage. If you get this in your opening hand and you're on the play, it's going to be really hard to lose that game. Your opponent's going to get stuck with 1 card in hand, and you've got 2 brand new ones to play around with. Bad Deal is just ridiculous. Definitely going to take that. We are taking it over Spine Megalodon, but I've already got a few of them. I would like to get more for sure, but it's definitely not as powerful as that is there. So I could take another Riddle form. I don't know how much I love the scrying every turn, but I do like it. Could take a Blood Glutton as just the biggest creature in this pack, or Turret Ogre. Either of these two are a 4-power creature to trigger Garruk's Uprising, which is good. There is also Sky Scanner to draw a card, or Ranger's Guile if we're just trying to counter our opponent's removal, but I don't think Ranger's Guile is the pick. I think it'll be a 4-power creature, a Riddle form, or a Sky Scanner. I'm not super insanely keen on any of this. I'm gonna actually just roll with Sky Scanner, I think. It's just a very consistent card. Just get that free chump blocker out and draw whatever the next thing is. Now we'll definitely take our Spine Megalodon. Read the Tides is insane in this format as well. Draw 3 cards. That is all you need. You're never using the other part of this. Just bam, draw 3 cards. Start with a 5-card hand instead of a 3-card hand. Don't mind if I do. Real easy pick there. And this pack pretty much sucks. I think we're definitely taking Secure the Scene, because this can get rid of artifacts and enchantments like Garruk's Uprising, so it's definitely better than Return to Nature, and this can also get rid of really big scary creatures, like if our opponent has a Baneslayer Angel, and it can get rid of Ugin if our opponent has Ugin, so Secure the Scene actually just busted in this set, in this format, I should say, where you're casting everything for free, because then giving your opponent a 1/1 is basically giving them absolutely nothing when all of the creatures can be so big so easily here. And we did wheel the Citizen Training, so I am happy about the way that we picked our cards out of that pack. Let's see, 2 damage to a target, or Scry 3 draw a card, or a 2/2 zombie. I'm just going to take the Scry 3. And this is actually a little bit of a hard pick. Gnarled Sage is pretty big, and will frequently be able to trigger the Vigilance, and the Reach is nice. And it draws a card off of the Uprising, whereas Citizen Training is just flat out draw a card right there. I think I'm actually going to take the Gnarled Sage here. And this is bad. This is bad. The 5 mana that we get every turn is 1 mana of every color. So for effects like Igneous Curse that requires a red mana, we can only use that once per turn. So this can attack as a 3/2. That's it. Just a 3/2, or we're taking a 2/1. So I guess we're taking the 3/2, but we do have a lot of stuff we're actually trying to use that mana on, like Teferi's Protege, Riddle Form, and stuff like that. If we use anything like that, then we don't get to use the mana for Igneous Curse. Either way, it's going to be a really bad card out of these two. I guess I'll take Igneous Curse. And actually, Portcullis Vine is not unplayable, because at least we get to sacrifice it to draw a card eventually. So we'll take that, and the last pick, Run Afoul. So what do we have now? another bad deal, I think, is going to have to be the pick. As I said before, that's just such a huge swing when each player starts with only 3 cards in hand, discarding 2/3 of their opening hand size. Absolutely insane, but Garruk's Harbinger would be fun for sure. It's got that 4 power to trigger Garruk's Uprising, and if this ever hits our opponent, we can try to pick up more creatures off of it, but I think it just has to be bad deal. Card is ridiculous. Now, what do we have? Gloomsower is the biggest creature in the pack, so that could be nice. Just drop down an 8/6, and it drains our opponent even if they block it. There's also Fungal Rebirth is interesting. Return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand, and if a creature died this turn, you get 2 1/1s. So I guess this is like a better version of the Rise from the Grave, because Rise from the Grave was sorcery speed, and this is instant speed, and we can potentially get a couple saplings when we do it. So it's just replaying whatever our biggest thing is. I think I prefer just taking the really big Gloomsower. You can potentially try to combo off with Tutelage with a bunch of draw spells. I don't think we're going to have enough draw to do that. But even just draw a card, discard a card is nice. I don't think we're going to be winning by mill ever. I think Enthralling Hold is probably the strongest card here. Potentially steal one of our opponent's creatures permanently, and obviously all the creatures are really big. So I think Enthralling Hold, Teferi's Tutelage, or Hunter's Edge is also removal, so Hold or Hunter's Edge for removal, or Gnarled Sage for the biggest creature, and Tutelage for if we're trying to do some cute little combo-y shenanigans. I guess I do have like a decent amount of draw. I just don't feel like it's enough to go crazy with the Tutelage, so I'm going to go with the Enthralling Hold. Frantic Inventory. This is the first Frantic Inventory that I've seen, so I'm pretty unlikely to get more, but if I get just like one more, then this card could be super good. That being said, Teferi's Protege we just know is going to be okay. I'm going to roll with Frantic Inventory. It's probably the wrong pick, but I really want to just randomly see more Frantic Inventories because that'd be super cute. Looks like it's not going to happen, but we get an incredibly powerful card with another Read the Tides, draw 3. Easy pick there. Now we have another counter spell, the Rewind. If I want to be defensive, Sanguine Indulgence for late game, pick up 2 really big creatures again, can be quite good. Or track down, scry 3, then draw. I think like Rewind or Sanguine Indulgence here. I'm going to just pick up a Rewind. I think we're starting to get enough draw with double Read the Tides and like double Bad Deal that I really like the potential of having a starting hand where we play one of these turn 1, drop like several big creatures, and then we get to hold up a Rewind. That could be a really, really good start. And here I'll take an Opt just to try to scry towards one of my insane card advantage swings like Read the Tides and Bad Deal. Keen Glidemaster can be good here though, because you can always use that ability, and then Bone Pit Brute is just massive. So those are both real cards as well. Could take a Cancel for a 3rd counter spell. I like that a decent amount, but there's also Test and Training for another little draw. I'm going to take the Cancel. And Crypt Lurker can let us discard a creature card to draw a card, so potentially we discard some garbage like Igneous Curve to try to draw into something good like Gloomsower. And it's a 3/4 on its own, which is not that bad. I don't like that it doesn't trigger the Garruk's Uprising. That is like the one thing I don't like about it. If this were a 4/3 instead, that would be beautiful here. So that makes me kind of want Forgotten Sentinel just because it can hit Garruk's Uprising, but I think I gotta go with the Crypt Lurker. It'll be better anytime that we don't have Garruk's Uprising out. Now we'll definitely take another Secure the Scene for the same reason that we took the last one. I just love that that can get any non-land permanent. So it helps against Planeswalkers, it helps against just whatever scary thing our opponent has. Creatures, enchantments, artifacts, any of that stuff. And another Destructive Tampering there. Let's make our cuts. How many lands are in here right now? Just the one mountain? Okay, so I get to make 3 actual cuts. So what are the absolute weakest cards in here? Maybe Duress, maybe Run Afoul. Frantic Inventory just draws a card, but that's fine. We're basically running a 39 card deck then. Igneous Cur is definitely kind of weak. I'm just going to set aside all the like kind of weak stuff, and then we'll actually throw some stuff back in to refill. Wishcoin Crab's definitely better than the Cur, but still kind of weak. So we'll set it aside for now. Alright, wow, this is not bad at all, I feel. It has been a long time since I've done an Omniscience Draft, so maybe I'm misremembering, but I think this is a pretty sick pile. So I get to put 2 cards back into here. All of these seem not that great. I kind of like the idea of having like 1 of Destructive Tampering, because, yeah, just shutting off blockers is pretty huge. Maybe I actually just throw both of these in here. I feel like Wishcoin Crab is like just big enough that sometimes it'll block without dying. Like I think like 4/4s like Gnarled Sage are super playable in this format, so this could sit there and block 4/4s potentially. I'm going to do the 1/1 split there. We're going to put in the Wishcoin Crab and 1 Destructive Tampering and see how that works out. Here's our 40 card Omniscience Draft deck. I'm going to shut off my Parallax card styles because they they kind of just annoy me. I prefer just the standard artwork on those. I do really like the showcase art styles in any set. I love the Storybook Eldraine showcases. I'm loving the new Kaldheim showcases. The Ikoria, like comic booky artwork is great. But it's just the 3D parallax effects that just kind of, I don't know, they look just weird to me. So anyways, this is our first M21 Omniscience Draft deck. And we'll see how well it does. It looks pretty good. I mean, double Read the Tides, double Bad Deal is huge. Those cards are just great. So we're not doing anything crazy with this hand in that we're not comboing off here, trying to play multiple draw spells in 1 turn, which is a little sad, but we've got multiple real big creatures. Looks like our opponent does not have a counterspell in hand, which means we just plop them all out. And our opponent's gonna need to do something pretty good here, because those are some beefy boys. Opponent starts off with a Track Down, which will only draw a card if they put a creature on top, so they're not going to chain into a bunch of card draw off of a Track Down unless they hit like a Llanowar Visionary or a I forget the Thopter's name, but the Thopter that draws a card when it comes into play. Looks like we are just against another pile of really big creatures. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Our opponent's creatures are a little bigger than ours, which makes me super worried. Yeah, this is bad. I guess I do get to tap a creature right now, but there's not really a reason to do so because I don't think I'm attacking here. I am going to just die to the flyer. I mean, I guess I can do this anyway. Is there anything that blocks Gloomsower super well? I guess Gorehorn blocks it the best. I might actually... Yeah, I'm actually going to attack with Gloomsower here, because this can potentially trade for Hellkite Punisher or at least Waker of Waves. So I'm attacking here just really hoping that they want to trade with one of their creatures. If not, I am pretty stuck. There's a possibility that it's actually worth attacking with the Spine Megalodon just to scry one, because we're in a really desperate position here to where we need to hit something really good. Like Bad Deal, Read the Tides. Like even Baneslayer Angel does not do anything right now. Oh my god. They thought we had something in hand, which means we actually get to kill Hellkite Punisher, which makes us actually super safe. Oops. I'm not trying to do any emotes right now. Alright. Well, get that flyer out of the way. And now we're just chilling. I suppose, actually, no, we're not quite just chilling yet, because our opponent's creatures are still bigger than ours. So I could take that trade there And then Waker of Waves, I'd have to just chump block. I wouldn't have any good blocks for that, but Spine Megalodon, I can bounce off my own Megalodon. I'm at 24. I'm actually just going to take this here, because the problem with losing my Tellurian Kraken is that then they just get to freely start getting in with the Waker of Waves. That seems real bad. Ooh, Village Rites is a great draw. Is this instant? Ooh, it's instant speed 2. So let me auto-pay that, and then I'm going to Village Rites while still in my draw step, so I can use more of this mana to tap more of their creatures. I got a Track Down. Ooh, and Destructive Tampering. That could be really good in the future. Get in for lethal. So we'll tap down the Dreadmaw. Actually, maybe it would have been worth it. Oops, I should not have done this. I'm going to decline. Okay. Yeah, I did one more than I needed to. Maybe I should have held on to Village Rites and used it during their turn to just tap down their creatures and make it so they can't attack. But I think we're fine. So we draw into a Havoc Jester. That'll be 7 plus 5, 12 power on the board. Still doesn't quite get there. I do get to scry 3 here, so I immediately draw Havoc Jester, have Thrill of Possibility next turn. I don't want to discard Destructive Tampering to a Thrill of Possibility. But drawing 2 might be worth it, because then I get to secure the scene and do whatever's after that. Yeah, we definitely put Havoc Jester on top, just draw that immediately. But, definitely not discarding Havoc Jester to Thrill of Possibility either. We'll see. I think I probably just pass turn after I draw Thrill of Possibility and maybe use the instant speed draw to tap some of their creatures again. So I've got 11 power on this board if I'm trying to do Destructive Tampering. I could just play defensively here and then actually just Thrill of Possibility. If I do this, I lose my Tellurian Kraken, I lose my Havoc Gesture, but they lose all those. They're stuck with just Waker of Waves and Megalodon. I then Thrill of Possibility. I can secure the stage, or secure the scene on Waker of Waves. They're stuck with Spined Megalodon and a 1/1, and I'm stuck with Spined Megalodon and whatever I'd drawn. But we haven't seen what's in their hand either. I think I'm gonna do this. My other options aren't great. I'm at 17, but this is a 7 power and a 6 power creature. I really don't want to take that kind of damage here. And a Blood Glutton is not scary here, so definitely going Thrill of Possibility, securing the Waker of Waves. Megalodon is big enough to block and kill the Blood Glutton, or just block the Megalodon. So I expect our opponent's probably going to start just attacking with their own Megalodon and nothing else here. If they play anything scary, we did draw into a Rewind to just counter that. Ooh, they actually just attack with it all. Very interesting. They probably drew into a Pump Spell or something. If it's really bad for me, I'll just counter it. Maybe not. Maybe they just wanted to sneak in that damage there while they were scrying. So, fair enough. Another Blood Glutton. They did scry a card to the top rather than the bottom, so I'm going to let that resolve and counter whatever they put on top. Rousing Reed is a huge draw. Alright, let's draw 2, discard 1. Valorous Steed and Baneslayer Angel. We'll discard the Valorous Steed, of course. Cast a Baneslayer Angel. And now we take 5 from Megalodon. I can counter whatever they have, so I don't even need to worry about playing around anything. So I just attack with Megalodon. Baneslayer can block those 2. Fine. I'm okay to take 5 here, because Baneslayer is going to start gaining life. Gnarled Sage is not really what I'm looking for. Wow, my mouse is really having issues clicking. I'm going to need to swap out mice. Bone Pit Brute. +4/+auto creature till end of turn. That matters a lot. They can put that on Megalodon, and then I really have to block Megalodon, and I don't want to have to block Megalodon with Baneslayer. That just seems bad. So I will counter that. Alright, no blocks. Bad deal, hey! Our opponent doesn't have any cards in hand, but that's still huge. And now we drew into the Read the Tides to draw 3 more. That's just beautiful. Now we just get to get tons of blockers out. We can definitely just send it in the skies. Oh yeah, tons of hexproof giant blockers. I'm actually going to leave the Gnarled Sage in my hand just in case they somehow have a Wrath. Oh my god, we have a cancel too. That was a huge, huge, huge turn. That is the kind of just nonsense combo that you really get going in these Omniscience drafts. So now I am very comfy, very safe. I can even throw this Gnarled Sage on board because they can't Wrath through a cancel. There's no uncounterable Wrath of God in this set. Village Rites will counter it, and that will be game. There's the concession from our opponent. So the first round is a successful one for our first M21 Omniscience Draft. That was pretty ridiculous, not gonna lie. That is really the power of those draw 2, draw 3 spells, as always. Really interesting game overall. A lot of these games can turn into just an immediate, like, one-player combos often wins turn 1, but that was a real back and forth, little bit of a nail-biter for a while until we got Baneslayer Angel. I was actually pretty scared. Alright, next round. Start off with a Thrill of Possibility, discarding Setessan Draining to draw 2. Alternatively, I just play the Gloomslayer and throw Training on it. Opponent does go first here, so we can see what we draw into. Really hoping they don't have a bad deal or something. If they do, I'm actually going to Thrill of Possibility to instant speed just to potentially draw into a counter spell. Kinetic Auger's fine. They discard 1, draw 1, discarding Infernal Scarring. Here's a Spined Megalodon. Yeah, I'll go ahead and Thrill of Possibility, discard the Training now. Maybe I get a counter. I don't, but this hand is now absolutely ridiculous. Oh, hi. Hi, Ugin. Well, glad I tried to draw into a counter. Didn't get one, but I can Read the Tides, try to get a Secure the Scene. That would be beautiful. Oh my god, another Read the Tides. We can just draw a ton of cards here. Really digging for an answer for Ugin. Even if I don't get an answer for Ugin, I'm drawing a lot of cards here. I'm going to actually go with Crypt Lurker next, discarding this Valorous Steed. I guess I could sacrifice the Crypt Lurker itself. Yeah, that seems... well... no, I should have cast Valorous Steed and then sacrificed the 2/2. That was a punt on my end, but with just how many cards we're drawing here, it probably won't matter. Alright, I have Rousing Reed to draw more cards, so let's throw that onto a Gloomsower. Ugin is at 9 though, so they can minus 7 Ugin to kill the Gloomsower, so I'm not going to play too many creatures here. I'll leave the rest in my hand to play after they Wrath, but we'll definitely force them to Wrath. Oh, Garruk's Uprising? Alright, we're actually just going to combo off here. So get rid of Teferi's Protege. Probably should have got rid of Witchcoin Crab, maybe. But, yeah, I'm about to just draw my whole deck, so we're fine. I'm about to just win immediately. There's the Secure the Scene. I don't know what's going on with my mouse, but I'm definitely swapping out after this video. Alright. Let's just keep going, because, yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. I really wish I could have played that faster, but my mouse is having insane issues. Like, it's triple clicking, double clicking, doing weird stuff where it's just not even registering the clicks. See, like, I had to click like 5 times to flip that card, so I'm just going to click really hard for the rest of this video, so you will probably hear it. So my bad on that one, but that was a ridiculous game. Just chaining together draw spells, pretty classic stuff. We beat the Ugin because we drew one of our Secure the Scenes. Even if we didn't, we could, with how many cards we were drawing there, we could play in a way to where we just had the 9 power of flying on board with enough creatures to block to not die. And that would be the plan against Ugin. Just put that 9 power flyer out, so they had to get rid of that or Ugin would die from that. And then just get enough... I'm actually going to cast Track Down first here. because they might have a counterspell. Alright, I'll pick up a Baneslayer Angel. Enthralling Hold is not good here because I'm actually going to try to just combo off. For the same reason, I kind of want to just not draw Megalodon right now, because if I draw Read the Tides or another bad deal, that'll just be better. This mouse, absolutely ridiculous. Let's see if they have a counterspell. If they did, they would probably counter Baneslayer. Alright, bad deal. Opponent discards 2, we draw 2, we just draw another Megalodon and a Kraken. So, did not draw one of our Read the Tides, that would have been fantastic, but I'll take it. This is still a really good start. Opponent goes down to 1 card in hand, so they're probably keeping whatever their best thing is. It's probably a draw spell of some kind. Don't know if I really want to commit to this board anymore, just because it could be Ugin or something. That being said, Ugin is like the only card I'd be super scared of. I'll just drop a Kraken down and then pass the turn. I'll leave at least 1 creature. Crypt Lurker. You're going to sacrifice the Lurker to draw a card. Defiant Strike to draw a card. Just going to chain together a bunch of little cantrips. Trying to draw into something. There's Thrill of Possibility. Draw 2, and we see a Portcullis Vine that will draw a card during our turn. Draw into Subtessent Training. I will go ahead and auto-pay that. Tap down their Vine so they have no blocks this turn. Now I can throw Training onto, I guess, Megalodon, just because hexproof. So this is the most likely creature to stay on the board for the longest amount of time. Drawn to Cancel, that's absolutely beautiful. Scry 1, Gloomsower, sure. Hit them for a bunch, we've got a cancel up for whatever they're going to do here. If they have anything that'll try to save them. Still going to hold on to the Gnarled Stage because we have well over lethal on board anyway, and there's the concession from our opponent. So there goes round 2, or 3. These games are really fast, so it's hard to remember. Round 3, alright, let's head into the 4th game. Really want to... I don't want to, like, distract too much from the core gameplay here, but I really want to figure out what on earth is going on with my mouse, because it was not doing this literally like yesterday. So that's a whole thing and a half I'll have to figure out. Just use my old school, not even a gamer mouse for the future, because I don't know, those, it still works, but those just don't feel as nice, like ergonomically. No, my mouse is like a Razer something or other. This one, it fits into your hand really nicely, but it's got really weird clicking issues sometimes, like what's going on right now. That is just a huge problem. I would not recommend it. Alright. This opening hand is pretty fantastic, but in this format, you never know what can happen. And being on the play, going first, is incredibly important because there are cards like Bad Deal that will just shit in your sandwich and absolutely destroy your soul. Oh my god, they got Grok's Uprising as well. We could just lose turn 1 here. Fierce Empath picks up another 6 power, convert a mana cost 6 or greater creature, which will come into play. Draw another card off of Grok's Uprising. Bone Pit Brute, draw another card. So yeah, this is a game that, like, there's literally nothing we could have done here. If we lose this game, that's alright. It was literally just who was on the play. If I were on the play, I could have very easily had just as insane of a turn with Grok's Uprising. Drawing 3 cards were very likely to hit a power 4 or greater creature to keep drawing cards off that, plus Crash Through. And, like, worst case scenario, once I'm done with all that, they still get to combo off and put a bunch of stuff out. That's just game. They still get to combo off and put a bunch of stuff out, but they don't get to make me discard 2 there. So, assuming that they drew the cancel off of all of their draw spells there, which is pretty likely, that game was mostly just a coin flip between whoever goes first, which is a lot of these games. Omniscience Draft is a very, very swingy format, as we've seen in all of the games so far. So I probably should have tried to bait out the counter with whatever random stuff we had in our hand. I don't even remember at this point. But I highly doubt opponent would counter any creature at that point with the board state that they had. I think you know that you're safe unless your opponent's about to draw like 3 cards or more. Alright, so we are on the play this time. I like that. However, our hand is not that explosive. We're just drawing 2 off of Rousing Reed. I'm going to start off with Opt, because I do need the Kraken on board to be able to Rousing Reed, and I'm actually going to keep that on top so I can get a Hexproofer, which is real nice. Draw 2, what do we got? Teferi's Protege, Garruk's Uprising. I'm going to discard Teferi's Protege here, because Garruk's Uprising draws a card off Megalodon, and then draws another card off Kraken. I won't be able to draw a second card off of it, guaranteed, if I have just the Protege. Card here, Wishcoin Crab. Don't want to use that ability. Let's go ahead and Sky Scanner, draw a card. Read the Tides, alright. Draw 3 more. See if I can draw into Bad Deal to shut off our opponent's hand. We do draw a Cancel, so I know my board's pretty safe. They're not going to be able to Ugin or anything. So for that reason, I'll go ahead and drop the Vine and the Crab, just to go all out on this board and pass turn. That being said, if our opponent like leads off with a Bad Deal, we'll probably have to cancel that. So if they go Bad Deal into Ugin, I guess I could still get hosed, but that would be insane. So Joel Rail, whenever they draw their second card turn, they get a cat. That's not that scary. There's Valor's Steed, a couple blockers, that's fine. Rousing Reed, I kind of want to counter that, but they are holding on to 1 more card in hand, and they chose to play this first. So that could be like an Ugin or something, but I think this is still probably worth the counter. Let's see how hosed I get here for doing this. The draw 2 discard one is just pretty huge. Alright, so everything worked out fine so far. Don't really want to use that ability right now. I can Crypt Lurker here, sacrificing just a Sky Scanner, that could be good. I don't have anything with haste in this deck, so let's go ahead and get our flying damage in first. I suppose I would have the potential to draw like 3 cards this turn, and if I did that I could tap down all their blockers, but still wouldn't be lethal here. So I'm just going to do this all main phase 2. I'm going to sacrifice the Sky Scanner. I would not like to pay 1 here. Now I have Defiant Strike and Portcullis Vine, both for instant speed draws. Kind of want to just pop a draw right now. See what we get. Havoc Gesture, not bad. I draw another card off that. Village Rites. Okay, now I have more instant speed draw. I am just going to sack the Crab, though. Oh my god, and I got the combo with Havoc Gesture. I didn't even realize I had any kind of combos with that. Now I have Rewind. That's just game. Now I've got a counter spell held up. That is really brutal. Bad Deal makes them discard the last card in their hand. Not using any abilities. Let's sack the Portcullis Vine, and I guess we get to do a damage off of that too. And then next turn we just Destructive Tampering for lethal. Alright, I'm going to stop doing stuff now, because anything they draw is just going to get rewinded. We're already at well over lethal, and my mouse is making doing things a little difficult, so we'll avoid that for now. Everything is all completely unnecessary. Alright, Gloomsower's fine. Just resolves. Opponent is at 9. Tampering. Creatures without flying can't block, and they have no legal blocks. I'm fairly certain they're already just dead on board because all our creatures have trample. Oops. I didn't realize that they were waiting on me there. That is unfortunate. Sorry about that, opponents. But I'm just going to use this to be super safe. There's our Baneslayer chilling on top. One of the things that is nice about this format is that since it is bot drafts, it is cheaper than Premier drafts. It's only 750 gems or 5,000 gold, and you are keeping every card that you draft. And because everything is free to cast in gameplay, you can really just rare draft during these drafts, because most rares are going to be the big swingy bomby cards like Baneslayer Angel, Ugin, Jolrael. Arguably not insane in this format, but it does give you the cat tokens pretty frequently with how often you draw 2 or more cards in a turn. But yeah, you can really rare draft in this format and not feel too bad about it, because anything can go into your deck. Whereas in a regular draft, obviously, if you're drafting Izzet spells, you're drafting like red-blue, a bunch of instants and sorceries, and then you open up like a Baneslayer Angel that you really want that you're just not going to play in your deck. Then you feel a little bad when you take that over something actually playable. Alright. I go first here. I don't love it, but I at least have the rewind to try to stop our opponent from doing anything too ridiculous. Go ahead and draw a card off Cetacean Training. Ooh, Garruk's Uprising. If we draw really well, this could lead into something ridiculous. Draws 1 card immediately, and if it's a power 4 or greater creature, it's just going to draw more cards. Our opponent does have instant speed stuff, for sure. They're going to try to destroy the Garruk's Uprising. I'm fine with that. I'll draw the 1 card off of it and hold up Rewind for a defensive play. And Duress is awesome here. Oh my god. Peer into the Abyss, the most powerful card in the format, period. Draw half of your library and lose half your life. That's just immediately win, because you can just cast it all. Oh, Duress for Peer into the Abyss. That's gotta feel bad to be our opponent. But I do love getting rid of that. My lord. Thrill of Possibility. Well, I could discard that, because I can't counter 2 spells at once with the Rewind. Oh my god, mouse. I swear. Let me cast my things. Alright, yeah, shut that off. I get in 9 damage here, and now our opponent is entirely in top deck mode. And we have lethal on board next turn. We'll see what they drew into. I am hoping it is one of their random last pick cards, like a 1-mana 1/3 or something. And it looks like it is. That is going to be the next win. I have not been keeping track. I think that's like the 5th win now. 5 wins, 1 loss. These drafts do go quite fast, we'll see. Yep, 5 wins and 1 loss, only 2 wins away from getting the full value 7-win run here. I think we can make it with this deck. We've got multiple bad deals, multiple Read the Tides, big stuff, Gloomsowers, Spine Megalodons. We've got pretty much everything we want. We've got a Garruk's Uprising as well, and a couple counter spells to hold off our opponents who are trying to do the immediate Peer into the Abyss. So opponent mulligans once. If they mulligan twice, then I'm probably just going to Duress and then cast Baneslayer Angel. Even off of 1 mulligan, I'll probably Duress first. Oh my god, they mulled twice. Maybe they're all in on Peer into the Abyss. They just want to draw that. So let's Duress and see what they have here. Stormwing Entity. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. Okay, I'm just going to play Baneslayer Angel, and next turn we can Thrill of Possibility. So whatever our opponent draws here, we know they literally just top-decked it, so if I get bad dealed here or something, I'm going to be very sad. This opponent does scry 2, both to the top. I hate that. Alright, and just a Tome Anima. So I will opt first, I guess, before the Thrill. Don't love Teferi's Protege, I'll put that on the bottom. Draw Rewind. I'm actually just going to hold that and attack with Baneslayer Angel. We're currently very much winning on board, so whatever these 2 cards on top are, I'll counter one of them, and then next turn we'll get to the Thrill of Possibility. I would laugh if we just end up not casting this Thrill of Possibility all game, just casting the other stuff we get. Crash through, draw a card, and Prowess trigger. So the second card is probably the one they really wanted to play. Bad deal. Yeah, that's a definite counter. They do hit us for 8 here, but Baneslayer's lifelink still makes it so we are very much winning. We did draw Wishcoin Crab, so we're absolutely going to cast Thrill now, because that's pretty jank in this format at least. Draw a card with Garruk's Uprising, draw another card when we cast Megalodon. That is a huge draw. Oh my god, we're just going to draw nothing but big creatures. We've got a counterspell as a backup. Fairly certain we've got this in the bag now. Oh yeah. Just chain those creatures off. Oh my god, when will it end? The party don't stop. Till, I don't know, till Crypt Lurker walks in? Actually, no, Crypt Lurker's part of the party too. I can just sacrifice the Crypt Lurker. Alright, the party continues. There's a bad deal as well. Sure. Just keep playing Solitaire here for a bit. I'll borrow the Stormwing Entity too, might as well. Oh my god, this is not fair at all, in the slightest. Just drawn to a second counterspell so I can be the safest person in the universe in this scenario. Whatever, we'll throw it on Kraken, it doesn't matter. Yep, I've drawn into the second counterspell. Alright, I'm just going to stop now. We're so beyond lethal now for next turn. I could keep going if I wanted. It's Test and Training and Track Down. Track Down would be very likely to hit... well, that gets cancelled. Track Down would be very likely to hit a creature, and if it was anything with power 4 or greater, we draw another card off the Garruk's Uprising afterward. So, really, really, really dumb game there again. Basically the reverse game of the one where we just got absolutely destroyed turn 1. So, 6 wins and only 1 loss. Only need 1 more win for full value. I just gotta get 1 win in the next 2 games. I'd like to say that I'm feeling pretty confident, but we've seen how crazy this format is and how heavily RNG laden it is. We could very well just get destroyed. Our opponent is going first here. I like to secure the scene for if our opponent has an Ugin, but there's not really any draw power here. Track Down does draw a card, but it only draws a card if we're scrying into a creature on top, and only like one of our creatures draws a card when it comes into play. And that's the Sky Scanner, so there's not really much crazy stuff going on here, so I might mulligan, just try to hit a bad deal or Read the Tides, but I'll definitely keep whatever I mull into. Alright, yeah, this is definitely a mildly better hand, so I'm okay with it. Baneslayer, Spine Megalodon. Of course, the only problem with this is if our opponent bad deals, we have nothing in hand, we're just doing whatever we top deck, but our last hand was already incredibly weak to a bad deal. They could bad deal us, and then we just have 1 track down. Alright, Megalodon, Rambunctious Mutt, Hellkite Punisher, Bone Pit Brutes. They have definitely drawn some cards here, and there's a Sanctum of Tranquil Light. Enthralling Hold is not going to do it here. We are definitely in a bad position. Baneslayer Angel's protection from dragons is incredibly relevant here, though. Wait, costs 1 less to activate for each shrine you control. Oh my god, I didn't realize that the whole time. It counts itself? That's really confusing. Okay, so that's actually just... It actually does work in this format. You can tap down 1 creature per turn. I might have actually drafted that during the drafting portion then, had I realized that, but I did not know that that actually basically just costs 5 mana, if that's your only one on the board. So yeah, we pretty much just die. The format is ridiculous, though. I could top deck a Read the Tides, and then go off, but other than that, I'll just die here. Test and Training is potential. Probably should have attacked with Megalodon first. Yeah, that was a really bad play. Because I need literally just like draw 3 or I lose right now, I should have attacked with Megalodon to scry 1 and then cast a test and training on it. Because like usually you want to cast the training first so you get the more damage out of it, but the damage does not matter at all right now. What matters is what's on top of my deck, and cancel does not save us. So that was a big punt on my end. Like if the next card on top of our library was Bad Deal or Read the Tides or anything like that, we may have been able to turn it around, and because of the way I played, I didn't give ourselves the chance. So that was a rough one. Certainly my bad there. But 6 wins, 2 losses, we still got the final chance to hit the 7 wins, and 6 wins is nothing to scoff at either way. I'll absolutely take that and run with it. Alright, we might get a free win here if our opponent doesn't have a counter. This could be the hand. Sky Scanner, get out there. We're still going to play Bad Deal absolutely last here. Draw 2 off Rousing Read, discard Destructive Tampering. Now I have a cancel ready. I'm going to scry first before I draw off of Riddle Form. Crypt Lurker draws a card, so might as well keep it. Here's Bad Deal. Sure, I'll make that a creature. Make our opponent discard. I'll play the crab and then sacrifice the crab to the Crypt Lurker. I guess I could just sacrifice the Crypt Lurker. Do I want a 2/5 or a 3/4? I guess I'd prefer 3/4. I'll just discard this. Alright, Village Rites. Well, might as well sacrifice both, I guess. You hear me clicking the mouse, right? That is just the one consistent theme of this video. It's just me trying desperately to actually cast things and my mouse just not being okay with it. Alright, so here's Bad Deal. I just make them discard their whole hand. Oh my god. Alright, so we got a 7-2 run here. This is dumb. This is dumb. I actually feel a little bad. And we get to show off a Baneslayer Angel. Oh boy. Absolutely brutal. Not a good time for our opponents. I'll just play till I have 20 power on board. I've got 5, 10, 14, 19. I need 1 more power, so we'll track down, I guess. And there's just the concession. Actually, wait, they're down to 16 because I cast 2 Bad Deals, so I already had lethal on board. Oops. All right. Should have just left canceled whatever they played. We were already at lethal. So that is a 7-win Omniscience Draft run. Pretty confident with how we drafted overall. The only big thing I would say is that the Sanctum of Tranquility is actually a playable card. I did not realize it made its own ability cheaper. So it actually only costs the 5 mana, and you do have 5 mana every turn, so you can absolutely use that to tap down a creature twice per turn, once during your turn and once during your opponent's turn. So that's actually pretty good when all of the creatures are like so big and important like they are in this format. So Sanctum of Tranquility, definitely something you should actually look at during the draft, unlike how I just wrote it off immediately. So, as always at the end of the video here, I would like to thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more of the Magic Arena content, stick around right where you're at, like, comment, subscribe, all of the goodies. I will be back tomorrow with another Omniscience Draft, and if it's still on the day after that, I'll do one more there. But after that, we'll be doing Ravnica Allegiance Drafts all throughout the week until Tinkerer's Cube hits at the end of next week. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.